Hello, here I am today with a poem The Celts by the British poet Stevie Smith. Stevie Smith is one of the poets of the 40s, the poets who wrote poems immediately after the Second World War. They are also famous as the silent poets or the silent generation because all the hopes for human beings was kind of lost just after the World War. The cities were shattered, the human relations was at a ruin. So the countries were just in ruins, and the souls of the people as well. So Stevie Smith and her generation of the poets maybe pick up that silence in many occasions, but sometimes, like the case of this poem, they reacted to the contemporary events of the time. For example, of the independence of Ireland from England as a case in point, where Stevie Smith gets back to in this poem. And she talks about the Celts, the movements for independence as well in Scotland is also addressed in this poem. So she talks about the Celts as the attaches of England, and now she's somehow at a colonial imperial stance like a queen, and she's talking about her people. So her people are the Celts who are living in Ireland and Scotland and Wales, and she's reacting to their different kind of ways of living, to their different attitudes and decisions they've made for the future. So, or how they remind England of something. So we have England or a queen like Stevie Smith here, the poet, the speaker of this poem, and also we have her reactions to the Celts. Let's read this poem. It will be helpful. And the speaker speaks with the first person. I think of the Celts as rather a whining lady. So she imagines the Celtic nations as a whining lady, as a lady. It's important that she sees them as a woman. To effeminize a colonized land as a common kind of thing, common kind of attitude in the colonial discourse. It seems that the colonial country or the most powerful country, the more powerful country, is like a male who is dominating over the body of the female. If you're interested to this idea, you can check the post-colonial viewpoints by famous post-colonial writers like Edward Said, or you can even check Sarah Fulford's book in which she talks about the space in modern Irish poetry. So it seems that Ireland, Scotland, Wales are imagined as a lady here, as a lady who is not that much lovable. I think of the Celts as rather whining lady, whining, crying like this. Who was beautiful once, but is not so much so now. The Celtic nations do not seem to be as beautiful as they had been because now they are not submitting, they are not so submissive, and they cannot accept to be part of a greater empire. They want independence. She's not very loving, but there is one thing she loves. It is her grievance, but she hugs and takes out walking. So she's talking about the victim attitude among the Celtic nations, especially the Irish, that we were victimized by England, that England has attacked us. Not now, of course. We're talking about a long history of the Irish-English relations. So they think that everything is unfair. They are complaining about it. It is her grievance which she hugs and takes out walking. The Celtic lady likes fighting very much for freedom. Now, she talks about the politics. The Celtic lady likes fighting very much for freedom, and it may be a reference to Ireland's and Scotland's attempts, especially Ireland, uh, about at least at this time the poem is written about at least a half century the Irish people were fighting against the presence of the English in their country. But when she has got it, she's a proper tyrant. Nobody likes her much when she's governing. Again, it's a reference to the emergence of the Republic of Ireland, the official new country, and she thinks that the Irish cannot manage the affairs of their own country when they have it. The Celtic lady, again, she goes back to that imagery of the Celts as a lady. The Celtic lady is not very widely popular, and if she's popular, let me tell you within parentheses, it is because their attachment to England, but the English love her. Oh, they love her very much. So, though the Celtic people, though the Irish do not like us, though they want independence, but we love them. But the English love her. Oh, they love her very much, especially when the Celtic lady is Irish. They love her, which is odd, as she hates them then more than anyone else. We love Ireland more than other Celtic nations, but unfortunately, maybe they don't love us as we do love them, rather, they hate us. So she here stops talking about the Irish and she moves to the Welsh. When she's Welsh, when we imagine the Celtic lady as a Welsh subject, when she's Welsh, the English stupidly, and she's talking about the wrong kind of imagination of the English about the Welsh, or the wrong type of ideas the English associate to the Welsh people, and stupidly associate her chiefly with national hats, these types of hats, which are the national hats of the Irish. Um, Eisteddfods or Eisteddfods. These are gatherings, traditional Welsh congresses of bards, minstrels, and poets, which contests of minstrelsy, sorry, singing or oratory are conducted. So this is a kind of, let's say, celebration or something like that. She's she she's telling us that when we English imagine the Irish, we imagine them with some nostalgic view, old age pensions, and also because the population of the Welsh people is rather old. They give and they actually cumber us, or they force us to give money to them, maybe. They don't think of her at all when she's Scotch. It is rather a problem. Uh, she says the English don't prefer to think about the Scottish people because the Scottish also are fighting for such an independence, even more contemporary than this poem. In 2012, there was a referendum about it. Anyway, the Scottish people have this nationalistic independence attitude too. And it is interesting that Stevie Smith, when talks about Scotland being a problem, or the Scottish people, that part of the Celtic population, she uses the word problem as a full line, a line with a period. So problem finished. So this is the Scottish, and she prefers not to talk about them, but because the English love the Irish so much, she gets back at the Irish in the last part of the poem. Oh, the Celtic lady, when she's Irish, is the one for me. So she had her choice. Oh, she's so witty and wild. My word witty, and you see alliteration, witty, wild, word witty. Oh, she's so witty and wild, my word witty, and flashing and spiteful. The Celtic lady will love all the same. She's not so beautiful as she was. So maybe the Irish had hurt the English queen, and I don't mean the real queen, the speaker of this poem, so much that she prefers to talk about it. You imagine when you love someone so much and that someone betrays your fidelity or something like that, or that person cries that I don't love you, your heart is broken. So the speaker of the poem has the same feeling here. She feels betrayed that her love is not returned with the Irish. That's why maybe she ends the poem with the Irish and she expresses it once more. She's talking about her sorrow that we love them, but they don't love us, and she repeats it. So this was my explanation, and thank you for listening.